What a difference a season can make. Liverpool end in the Premier League campaign with Champions League qualification secured, but they were 24 points worse off than last season when they won the title. That drop-off, the worst in the Premier League statistically. Maka is still with us. Arne Slot still the right man for you to lead Liverpool next season, Maka, or do you think it's not the problem?
I think it's been part of the problem. I think there's extenuating circumstances as well. I think he'll stay on, Kay, I really do. I think the people in charge of Liverpool, from the sporting directors down, feel as if they've really let themselves and the team down this year and they want to put it right. So I think Arne will stay on, definitely. I think he's going to have... It'll be difficult if he doesn't win the first few games, if he has a difficult start. But I absolutely see him starting the season again in August. But they've got a huge summer ahead, haven't they? We're talking about Real Madrid having a huge summer. Liverpool have got a monstrous summer ahead, losing characters like Mo Salah and Andy Robertson particularly. I was really surprised to see him leaving. It looks as if Alisson will stay, and I'm glad about that. And then there's even mutterings that Joe Gomez might leave and even Curtis Jones, which I think will be awful because Liverpool don't need to lose any more bodies. If anything, they need to bring in 5 or 6. So... massive summer ahead for Liverpool. But this season certainly was not good enough.
Craig?
Well, I think he is lucky in the sense that he's at a club, and Stevie and I have talked about this, he's at a club that generally are very patient with their managers historically. I mean, there's been the odd occasion they've had to sort of fire somebody. Roy Hodgson was spring to mind, relatively short tenure. But I think they're generally a patient club. But as Maka said, if the first 3 months of next season don't go particularly well, then he's going to be back on the hot seat. There's no question about it. The summer is going to be interesting. And listen, we all thought last summer, certainly with the signings, that none of us thought we'd be having this conversation. No. We thought we'd be sitting here now talking about them as Premier League champions because who was going to beat them with all these signings that were coming in. And yeah, they lost a few players. But the ones that have come in have struggled. Frimpong struggled. Kerkez has certainly struggled. Wirtz has struggled. Isak has been non-existent with injuries and whatnot. And then you look at the ones that are here. I mean, obviously Mo Salah and Andy Robertson are gone, like Maka mentioned. But Mo Salah has been much talked about, obviously, but he struggled. Virgil van Dijk has struggled at times. So there's a what they're going to do with the partnership with Van Dijk? Is it still going to be Konate because he's had a terrible season? So there's lots of players. It's not just about signing players for Liverpool. It's about the existing ones that are there playing better. I think if you look at the midfield, Szoboszlai apart, Gravenberch and McAllister were a shadow of the players they were the previous season. Van Dijk certainly wasn't anywhere near as good. Neither was Mo Salah. So there's a lot of players there that are good enough to win titles at Liverpool because they've proven it. But can they get back to something like their best? And then they can add to that. That's what Arne Slot has to be hoping for. It's about partnerships, isn't it? The partnerships in the middle of the park, the partnerships at the back. And then, of course, the full-back area, it's Alexander Arnold's gone, so that dynamic has changed. That great football they had from the right side with Salah attacking and Alexander Arnold's his raking balls and crosses and set pieces and passing. And Andy Robertson, obviously, on the other side, going box to box, which he hasn't been able to do, for 12 months or so. But they thought Kerkez was going to do that. Stevie, you were a huge fan of his, was at Bournemouth. Whether it's talent or whether it's the fact he's at Liverpool and the pressure of going from Bournemouth to Liverpool is just sinking the lad.
Listen, I don't know. There's no question that when the rest of the back four aren't at their best and they're struggling, a young guy is going to struggle. Semenyo at Man City is a one-off. The fact that he came from Bournemouth and then just actually took another step forward to the point where he could have been Player of the Year, that doesn't happen very often. And
he's a wee bit older, isn't he? He's kind of mid-20s.
Kerkez absolutely toiled and he was not helped by everybody else around him. And Arne Slot, absolutely 100%, is starting from scratch. He has to start from scratch. There is nothing that this Liverpool side showed us this season that you want to keep and carry on into next year. The back line, the midfield, and the forward line, it was atrocious. And it was unwatchable at times. So Arne Slot's starting from the beginning. And he, 100%, has to get bodies in. and proper players. You know, not just filling a gap, but proper players. And of course, the worst thing for Arne Slot is it's a World Cup year, so he's not going to have a lot of time to work with the squad. The time they all come back, so I mean the odds against Arne Slot starting the season well are, I'll tell you, he's up against it big time. I agree with Mark. It seems like now he's going to stay. Craig said the FSG are patient, and you know we can't complain about that. And we did say, certainly I said, the fact that he did win the Premier League in his first year gives him a little bit of time. But boy, is he under pressure. He is under pressure big time.
Stevie's concerns about filling those gaps, the same concerns for you, Macca?
Yes, because listen to the boys. I think everybody agrees. I think most Liverpool fans would agree. When you look at those new signings, look at the players they lost. They lost too many players. We understand the financial aspect of bringing players in and letting players go, but they probably lost too many players. The new players that have come in, have not performed well. Yes, they've had a lot of bad luck this year with injuries. They had good luck last year with injuries. They've had a lot of bad luck this year, and that has to be addressed. But you're talking about losing. A lot of people keep talking about identity. They've lost a lot of identity in recent years in Milner's and Jordan Henderson, but they've lost one of the best in Andy Robertson now. Salah's been there a long time, and knowing the club and knowing what the players like, that worries me just as much as what I see on the pitch. The characters who run the dressing room, the people who will be able to shout at each other. Going back to Stevie's time when I was trying to get into their team, they had real leaders in that squad. And it's progressed from then until now. And I just think once Alisson goes and once Van Dijk goes, I'm thinking to myself, where's it going to come from? That's why I worry about people like Joe Gomez or Curtis Jones. I know Joe Gomez has had his injury problems. But I'd rather have him than not have him, just to be around and to, because he can play 2 or 3 different positions. Because Conor Bradley's injury prone. Jeremy Frimpong looks as if he doesn't know what to do. I agree with both the lads about Milos Kerkez. You can see he's talented and energetic, but he just doesn't seem to know how to play for Liverpool. It's just one way or that's it. He just wants to run forward and run in all strange positions. So I don't know where they're going to start. I really don't. They finished the season and 2 of their outstanding players over the last 9 years have gone. Canate's on a free contract. We think he will join. There's rumours about Alisson. Van Dijk's got 1 year left. So when you're looking into this crystal ball, you're thinking, oh my word, they've got so much work to do. I hope they can pull it off. I hope there's a magic pot of money that they can go to and say, right, we've still got plenty of room to buy X, Y, and Z, because they're going to have, as I said, they can't bring in 2 players. They're going to need to bring in 5 or 6 really, really world-class players. Otherwise, next year they won't be in the Champions League spot, and that spells disaster, as we all know, for the big teams. If you can't get the Champions League in revenue, you're going to have years of struggle, and Liverpool cannot have that after winning the Premier League last year, and this year being a bit of a damp squib, really.
And with all the games that are going to come their way because of the domestic and European competitions, you just have to look at Arsenal, the Premier League winners, and not so much in the way they played in the second half of the season, but you look at what they did last summer, which is the point where everyone's talking about here. They realised where they came up short, which was in 1 or 2 positions, but also in their bench. And they really beefed their squad up to a point where they had almost 2 back fours. Yeah. They could double up in the wide positions, and they had Gabriel Jesus, when fit, Kai Havertz and Gyökeres that could play up front, and Havertz could play in a couple of different positions. So they went and beefed up that squad so that when things weren't going well for certain players, they could make a change. When Odegaard was injured or struggling, they signed Eze, he came in and he played. When Eze wasn't playing particularly well, Odegaard played. Martinelli came in, Madueke came in. They weren't always consistent, but they were bodies that were enough quality. And I think if Liverpool want to get back to winning, I think as important as their first 11, we'll be looking around at the bench and saying, right, what have we got on the bench? Because nobody's winning any elite league now with just 14 players. 11 good starters and 3 or 4 decent subs and a bunch of kids. Unfortunately, you need more than that now.
The problem Liverpool's got is that Arsenal did it over a period of time. you know, they grew that squad to the point of where they've basically got two great players for every position. I mean, that's the ideal scenario. The problem Liverpool's got is they're not even close to that, but they have to sign a whole load at one time. That's a completely different animal than being able to quietly do it and strengthen yourself over a period of time. Liverpool don't have that at their disposal. They have to do it right now. And that is, we saw what happened last year when they made so many changes, and they're going to have to make the same amount at least again. How is it possibly going to work in a short space of time? Particularly again, because Slot's not going to have time to work with them all, even if they get them all in. So again, he's up against it.